If you're even thinking about raising capital or selling your company, you've probably felt this tension. You know your business is valuable, but you're not sure you can prove in a way investors or buyers will trust. Today, we're going to walk through 3 research reports that can dramatically improve your odds in an SMB capital raise or an M&A process.
And we're not talking about fancy paperwork for the sake of it. These are the kinds of documents that turn a messy story into a clear, defensible case. They help you answer the questions people are already asking behind the scenes.
Exactly. The 3 reports are 1. A SWOT and VRIO analysis. 2. A valuation metrics and methodologies report, including relevant multiples for your company and your sector. And 3. An investor or buyer analysis paired with a tight investment narrative. We'll explain what each is, why it matters, and how to actually use in the process.
Also, if you're listening and thinking, I'm not ready to sell yet, that's fine. These reports are still useful. They can shape your strategy months or even years before you enter a formal process.
Let's start with number 1, SWOT and VRIO. People have heard of SWOT. It's the classic strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
But most SWOTs are kind of fluffy. They're either generic or they read like marketing copy. Strength, great team. Weakness, we need more sales. That doesn't help anyone make a decision.
A useful SWOT is specific and evidence-backed. It connects to real data, real customer feedback, real competitive facts. If your strength is customer retention, show the retention rate. Show the cohort behavior. Show how it compares to your category. If a threat is a new competitor, name them and explain what they're doing differently.
And the reason SWOT matters in a raise or sale is simple. Investors and acquirers are underwriting risk. They're trying to understand what could go wrong and whether you understand it too. A credible SWOT doesn't scare people off. It builds confidence because you're not pretending the business is perfect.
Now VRIO is a less famous sibling and it's powerful. It stands for value, rarity, imitability, and organization. It's a framework to test whether your advantages are actually durable.
In plain language, do you have something that genuinely creates value, that not everyone has, that competitors can't easily copy, and that your company is set up to actually capture and keep that advantage?
This is where a lot of SMBs get surprised. They'll say, our advantage is our relationships, or our advantage is our brand. And VRIO forces you to ask, is it rare? Is it hard to copy? Or could a better funded competitor hire a sales team and replicate it in 12 months?
So how do you use SWOT and VRIO in the real world of capital raising or M&A? You use them to shape your positioning. You use them to anticipate diligence questions. And you use them to decide what to highlight and what to mitigate before you ever sit in a meeting.
Also, a good VRIO helps you justify why your growth plan is believable. Not just will grow, but will grow because we have an advantage that supports scaling. That's a totally different statement.
All right, report number 2, valuation metrics, methodologies, and multiples. This is where founders sometimes either avoid the topic or become obsessed with one number.
Right. And what you actually need is a valuation report that is more like a map than a single destination. It explains the common ways of business like yours is valued, what metrics matter in your space, what multiples are typical, and where your company fits realistically.
Let's break that down. Methodologies might include comparable company multiples, precedent transactions, discounted cash flow in some cases, and for earlier stage companies maybe a venture-style approach. The point is not to pretend there's one correct method, but to show you understand how professionals will evaluate you.
And you want this report to speak the language of your buyer pool. If you're a SaaS business, people will likely care about ARR, growth rate, net revenue retention, gross margin, customer acquisition efficiency. If you're a services business, it may be EBITDA, utilization, backlog, concentration risk. If you're a manufacturing business, it could involve capacity, margins, working capital, and supplier risk.
Here's what's really valuable. The report should translate your operational reality into valuation drivers. For example, if customer concentration is high, the report should say how that tends to affect multiples in your market and what improvements could expand valuation.
Yes, Because valuation isn't just what number can I get. It's what story is the market willing to pay for given the risk profile. If your financials are messy, if margins are unstable, if revenue is one time, those are valuation issues, not just accounting issues.
So how do you use a valuation report? Number 1, it helps you set expectations internally. If you're going to market with a number that doesn't match reality, you can waste months and damage momentum.
Number 2, it helps you pick a strategy. Maybe a minority growth investment makes sense now, and a full sale makes sense later. Maybe you should do operational improvements for 2 quarters to move into a better valuation band. The report helps you decide when and how to run the process.
And number 3, it gives you leverage. Not in an aggressive way, but in a prepared way. When someone throws out a valuation range, you can respond with logic, the comps, the deal precedents, the correct metric definitions, and why your business deserves a certain multiple or what would need to be true for that multiple.
Now, report number 3, analysis of potential investors or buyers, plus an investment narrative. This is where everything comes together.
Because even if you have a great company and a fair valuation, you still need the right audience. Not every investor is a fit. Not every buyer will understand what you do. And not everyone values the same things.
This report starts with segmentation. Who are the logical capital providers or acquirers? For investors, that could be angels, family offices, venture funds, growth equity, or private equity. For buyers, it might be strategic acquirers in your industry, adjacent industries, roll-up platforms, or PE-backed consolidators.
And then you go one level deeper. What's their thesis? What check sizes do they write? What geographies do they prefer? What are their typical deal structures? Do they want control or minority? Do they prioritize profitability or growth? Do they bring follow-on capital?
For buyers, you'd ask, what synergies might they be looking for? Product expansion, geographic expansion, customer cross-sell, cost savings, talent acquisition. A buyer who sees synergy may pay more than a buyer who sees only standalone cash flows.
And paired with that is the investment narrative. This is not a slogan. It's the spine of your story. It connects the market, the problem, your differentiation, your traction, the economic model, and the plan.
A strong narrative also addresses the tough questions up front. Why now? What's the catalyst? Why are you raising? What will the money do specifically? What milestones will it unlock? And what does success look like in 18 to 36 months?
And if it's an M&A process, the narrative shifts slightly. It becomes, why is this asset attractive to own? What is the growth path under the right owner? What capabilities or distribution channels make the business bigger inside a buyer than it is on its own?
So how do you use this third report? First, it helps you build a target list that's strategic, not random. Second, it helps you tailor outreach. You're not sending the same generic pitch to everyone. You're aligning your story to their motivations.
Third, it helps your process management. You can sequence conversations, create competitive tension where appropriate, and avoid dead ends. There's nothing worse than spending 6 weeks in conversations with someone who was never going to transact.
Let's connect the dots across all 3 reports. SWOT and VRIO clarify what you are and why you win. Valuation research translates that into how the market prices your business. An investor or buyer analysis plus narrative ensures you're telling the right story to the right people.
And there's a compounding effect. A sharper narrative makes diligence smoother. A cleaner valuation perspective makes negotiation less emotional. A stronger strategic analysis makes your forecast more credible. Each report strengthens the others.
One practical way to think about it is, each report answers a different question. SWOT and VRIO answer, what makes this business tick and what could break it? Valuation answers, what is it worth and why? And the investor or buyer analysis answers, who will care and what are they buying into?
Before we wrap, let's talk about a common mistake. Founders sometimes create these documents as static PDFs that sit in a folder. The better approach is to treat them as living tools. Update them as you learn in conversations. Refine your buyer list. Tighten the narrative. This is iterative.
Also, you don't have to make them complicated. You do have to make them honest, specific, and aligned. The goal isn't to impress someone with jargon. The goal is to reduce uncertainty and increase trust.
If you're listening and thinking, where do I start? Start with the SWOT and VRIO. It's the foundation. If you can't clearly explain why you win and why it's defensible, valuation and outreach become guesswork.
Then build the valuation report so you understand the playing field. Then do the investor or buyer analysis and narrative so you can run a focused, efficient process.
And here's the punchline. These reports don't just help you raise money or sell. They help you run the business better. They highlight what to fix, what to double down on, and what to stop doing.
That's it for today. If you're preparing for a capital raise or a sale and you want to avoid the chaos of, let's just see what happens, these 3 reports are your starting kit. Strategic clarity, valuation reality, and targeted storytelling.
Next time, we can dig into what a strong investment narrative actually sounds like and how to turn it into a pitch that holds up in serious diligence. Until then, keep it simple, keep it specific, and build the case before you need it.